What's happening, everybody? My name is Rico Lamite. I am the founder and CEO of Canavision Global, decentralized media broadcast company. And it is my absolute pleasure to bring on a good friend of mine. I've known her in the industry now for almost 5 years. Cross paths in both lanes, both in the tech side of the industry as well as for cannabis industry events. And I've always admired her passion, her drive. And she even came up from San Diego to come to a cannabis and crypto event that I was actually running back in my old finance, I guess, one hand in both lanes, or one foot in both lanes phase that I was going through back then. But her name is Adelia Carrillo. She is not only the CMO of Event High, but she's also the co-founder of Blunt Brunch. And I heard first about Blunt Brunch a few months ago online, obviously on Facebook. She was doing a good job of promoting the Blunt Brunch series that she and Parisa Rad were doing back down in Arizona. And I just saw more and more people posting about it. And I was like, what the hell is this? This is awesome. And it was all about women in the industry. And there's some really, really heavy hitters on there. So it just prompted me to just not only become even more of a fan of what she was doing, I saw that she was digging deeper into what I saw a underserved community within the cannabis industry. Just women making power moves across the board. So it's my absolute pleasure to bring her on with us, Adelia Carrillo. And she's going to tell you guys a little bit about herself, and we're going to hop right into it. Adelia, how
Thank
are you doing?
you. I am good. I'm excited to be here and always love chatting with you about just the industry as a whole and excited to update everyone about Blunt Brunch and whatnot. But yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Adelia Carrillo. As Rico said, I am the CMO of Event High. If you haven't heard of Event High, we are a online ticketing platform catering to the cannabis culture, similar to Eventbrite, but specifically catering to cannabis events, and co-host of Blunt Brunch. A little bit about my background. So, first and foremost, I consider myself starting point as a patient. That's really how my journey began into this space. I left the consumer electronic industry, had some health issues that I ran into that led me going into becoming a patient for cannabis, and it really intrigued me into this plant as a whole. As I started to see how it healed me emotionally and physically through that moment of my life, I realized that I wanted to do more for this space, and that was when I launched my first company, which was called Direct Cannabis Network. It was a B2B digital news network catering to startups, innovation, and tech in the industry. And it was great. I think we were a little, now looking back, we might have been a little bit too early, but I felt like we were able to make an impact during that time of what we did.
Mhm.
I did close that business after about almost 5 years and to take on this position.
It was sad.
Right? I know it was my baby.
It was sad. I was a huge fan of DCN and my DCN updates. Unfortunately, like you know me, I'm a little bit of a tech geek and a data head myself. And to see another technologist, a futurist in the lane, that was very inspiring to me. And especially you being out here in California, where we have for better or worse, we have a bunch of tech dinosaurs.
Yeah.
and and unfortunately, it did hamper a lot of growth for a lot of the legacy players, like early on. With DCN, like, what inspired you to jump in the lane or jump into cannabis with DCN initially?
So I really found that I was like, you know what, this is the way I can bridge a gap. I knew big business or corporations were going to come in, but I also felt like, we needed to find the way to still keep that heart and that story of why people launch their businesses, why they do what they do for this industry. So my goal was to, really enhance that by connecting that. The heart, I look at it, the heart is the cannabis plant, and the technology is almost like the brain, and you collaborate them and you give them a voice, but you still have intention behind it. And so that's what I really felt that we could do with DCN, is providing these startups and these entrepreneurs that maybe weren't able to access a lot of the funds, that many of these other companies have been able to, and give them that voice. We still highlighted these bigger tech companies as well, but I wanted to stay true to that and become really authentic, and which kind of hindered it, because I wasn't ready to do. I didn't want to do a pay to play media company. It was just not what I was feeling, but it made it really hard to survive in that space. But I think we did it we did it while we were alive, and hopefully somebody next can continue that focus around technology and innovation.
Right, you still have the assets, right? You can you sell that, you can sell it, or you could actually reactivate somewhere down the line, because I thought you guys had a great name. The way you executed was really awesome. Just like a lot I was doing at the time, we were just ahead. We were just ahead of the game. California was not the best of markets to be technology forward.
Yeah.
The transition days of 2016, 2017, right?
Exactly.
So up next, you ended up jumping on as the CMO of Event High. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Looking at the company and their mission and everything, it's still aligned with a lot of the things of why I created DCN. The focus with Event High is keeping the cannabis culture alive, and showcasing how events are important by bringing us together. They also enhance education. No matter what type of event it is, they're educating the cannabis plant in some shape or form. Whether it's a festival, whether it's a B2B conference, even a sesh. Like, there's different ways that they are still bringing this culture and keeping the plant connected and in the front face of it. So that was something that I just, it really drew to me. That thing, and all transparency too. I know the CEO very well.
Intimately.
Yes, my partner, and so my basically my husband, but essentially I didn't know if we would, how that would work, how that dynamic would work, but we both grew a lot the past years as launching the first company, our first company in cannabis, and it's been a great journey seeing him evolve and scale the company, but then even being able to asset a lot of my skill sets and bring Event High further through my connections, and just, again, things that I've learned along the way.
No, I love it. And I've always loved Event High. I need to engage even more with Event High, because um, I've gotten kicked off Eventbrite probably. I've gotten kicked off every major event ticketing site for my events, be they legal, be they gray area, or be they less than. and Event High is not only that it's just always been there, but I really felt good supporting BIPOC efforts in our lane, and it really felt good. Engaging with you and Ali, not only because I knew you guys, but because I knew that those dollars, whether they're from fees or whether they're from anything I'm doing, engaging directly with you guys, they were going to people of color. And I'm never shy about saying that. Like, if there's ever a solution, and all things being equal, if it's close to the opposite solution, like, I'm always going to try to support my people. And so I definitely applaud you guys and what you built over there. And you brought, in your own words, a lot of life to the platform. Too. You put out a face there, a friendly face, a familiar face to a lot of people, and respected too. So big props to you, Ali, and what you guys have built over at Event High, and I'm looking forward to deepening our relationship as well as we hop into the end of this year and early 2022 as well. So,
yeah,
Blunt Brunch. Tell me the story. Tell me the story. How did it come along? And how did the whole story of Blunt Brunch begin? And in the background, all of the dirt. Tell me.
Yeah, all of it was honestly the most authentic, organic creation. I was we decided that we were going to move to Arizona, and I reached out to Parisa. She lives there, and and she was very welcoming right away. She was like, okay, let's get you connected to as many people, just facilitating a lot of connection. She went above and beyond, and I will forever thank her for that. But it was also to, we were talking about wanting to meet more. I wanted to meet more women, connect with more women, and have that kind of, again, camaraderie. Camaraderie. I can't say it.
Camaraderie.
Camaraderie. There you go. Like I do with the women that I have built friendships with in California, and so she mentioned doing brunch, and I was like, great, let's do it. And she reached out to a couple of people that she knew, and I reached out to a couple of ladies that I knew in Arizona as well. And it was very intimate. I think we had about 8, maybe 10 ladies for brunch. We got some cool little gift bags together, and we just all kind of just introduced ourselves, had these really good conversations that highlighting some of the hurdles we were all facing, and kind of like, how are we going to move forward with this? And in general, of building businesses in the industry.
And what are some of those hurdles that you that women might run into that men would not?
Well, obviously, the one that we hear often is raising capital. Even the competitive landscape of getting their products or business services into some of these dispensaries, it's very challenging. Even just having that seat at the table, or just how to handle certain situations when it comes to selling your business or promoting your services, when it is a all-man group business, and you're discussing having these meetings with them. So there's just a variety, and it even goes into imposter syndrome. Women they're not the only ones who have imposter syndrome. Anyone, male, woman, whatever they are, they can still have imposter syndrome. But as women, it may not be as, we may not feel as comfortable to share that with our counterparts, because it could make us look weak in a way.
Yeah.
So being able to speak about it with our colleagues, with other women, and have those real discussions is so vital and important. And it also recognizes that we're not alone, that other people do feel it too.
I absolutely love that. I love it. And so it's not just a safe space for you guys to interact with other women entrepreneurs, but also a place where you can just keep it real, right?
Exactly. Yeah, having that safe space. And so after we all left, and I if I recall correctly, me and her just jumped on the phone right after, as we are both driving back to, going back to work and stuff. And we were both like, that was amazing. Like, we got to do it again. And then we heard it from them as well, the other ladies, and they're like, we got to do this all the time or monthly. And so we're like, maybe this should be a thing. And we started going back and forth with names, and then the name Blunt Brunch came into par, and then it hit the ground running. And we're still learning along the way, but ever since we've been hosting almost 2 events a month, whether it's a sit down brunch or a social and activity. We found that activity kind of events where, let's say it's roller skating, we went on these donut boats, we went bowling in Vegas. It allows our guests to let their hair down, but then also kind of that uncomfortableness, or I don't want to say ego, but just that mindset of like having to always be on, because now we're all like, oh my gosh, I haven't been roller skating in forever. Like, just those nerves. It allows people to be like, okay, we got to do this together, and relearn, and it lets those barriers down. And so authentic relationships can really evolve.
Absolutely love that. So could you walk me through what your typical blunt brunch is like? So let's say I am a new woman in the industry, looking to connect with a bunch of other badass boss ladies in the green lane, and I stumble across your Facebook page, like, oh, this looks really, really cool. Like what should I expect as a newbie coming into the group?
So for the sit down, it is a very intimate event. It is we invite 25 women executives or entrepreneurs in the industry, and they will, let's say, walk into a restaurant. We do this at a restaurant because, again, we want to showcase and break the stigma of what people in cannabis look like. So we literally not rent out. We book a reservation at a variety of different restaurants, and we have about 25 women who sit down for a brunch. They are greeted with our banners. We have gift bags, and then we have at least 1 to 2 speakers, our sponsor speakers, and those speakers talk about whatever topic that we are going to present to them. And then the ladies each have a chance to also share or have an ask. They are able to also ask the ladies as well if they need help with something. And we have about almost 2 hours where we eat, talk, and just mingle. And just, again, that intimate setting is everything. It's not too overpowering, and we enjoy some good food. So that's what those sit downs are like. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're like immediately disarming people as they walk in with their guard up, and you're just welcoming them into the community. Sounds a lot like the way the cannabis industry used to be.
Right, exactly. Yes, we're hoping that we can, have those kind of communities again. As you mentioned, like
Right.
earlier in the intro, like we used to have a lot of these kind of communities and events and gatherings, even years before COVID, but it started lessening, and obviously the women in leadership positions continue to decline. And so bringing something like this right now just seemed needed. And it's people are now flying into Arizona for this, which is crazy. I'm like, it's awesome to feel, but I'm like, wow, like this is something that people really need and want.
Wow. So is it women only, or is it open to men as well, or just like encouraging women? Like obviously, if you identify as a woman, you're going to be accepted like into the fold there. But what do you say if a dude comes through and is like, yo, I want to be part of this shit too? What is your response?
Yeah, so the sit downs, we do cater more to women and those who identify as female. The socials can be a little bit more accessible to those that are allies in this space, but we do try to keep the sit downs more specific to women and those who identify as female, so that they can still have those moments to have these conversations. Again, it changes changes the mood, and I don't want to say in a bad way at all, because there's many men who are supportive of women and what we all do and want to empower and are allies. But sometimes we also need our own space, and so that's really what we're hoping that we want the sit downs to be. Again, the socials are bigger, and those can really be where our allies may attend, but we still like to keep it women focused.
Women centric, yeah. And I don't mean that like in any offensive way too. Like I'm very aware of the aura that some men bring in our industry. As much as we love it, as much as we talk about how inviting it was like in the past and like all this and that, like it is what it is. A lot of guys are creeps. A lot of dudes are fucking creeps. A lot of dudes do and say things that you shouldn't do, and are generally by society you're looked down upon if you have a certain reaction. So I understand that 100%, and I feel sorry for the people who do not understand that. Just keep walking, bro. But so this is great. I'd love to just like experience something like on a grander level with this that is even more inclusive. And I wish that we were at a place in society where we can even have like everybody in the same room to have these adult conversations. But it just is what it is, and I know you were shunning the word ego, but I think it does boil down to ego at the end of the day, like because certain people are not willing to just shut the fuck up and just like let somebody talk.
Yeah.
I was speaking with two of my clients, like yesterday, they were having issues with like one of their investors because he wasn't seeding the stage for them to say what their individual needs were for them. And unfortunately, that relationship might be severed and they might be walking away from a huge money operation simply because they don't feel like they're appreciated. And a lot of men in business and in their personal lives. So it's something that I've learned as I've gotten older, and me and my wife have grown into our relationship. Just shut the hell up and just listen. You don't always relate.
Yeah. And it goes back to, not all money's good money, and
Yep.
that's, at least they can see that, and unfortunately recognize it. It has to be that way, but hopefully it brings the right investors along after,
Excellent.
Yeah.
So bringing it back a little bit to Event High is still tied to you being at Blunt Brunch too. But where do you see events currently transitioning to? What kind of space are we in currently with the cannabis event scene? And where do you see us going in the near and distant future?
So,
Like what's working and what's not?
Yeah. So the beginning of this year, we definitely, around February, we started to see an increase of in-person events again. There wasn't really in the beginning, people were keeping them more intimate, 25 to 50 range. Very few were trying to hit the more conference scale. We saw a couple conferences, but a majority were having this intimate approach. I would say around the end of July, August, we started to see a decline in events or an increase in cancellations again. And also our virtual events started increasing again. But now what is interesting is we're now seeing still, I would say, not even yet, but virtual events are still moving forward, but in-person events are now going back up. But they are all, again, this intimate type of setting, unless they are in outside areas or, certain things. So I think event hosts are being very, are definitely keeping their audience in mind when it comes to safety or when it comes to even being comfortable right now.
Right.
And I think it'll continue that way until, again, probably spring. But and by spring of next year, we still have a kind of a tricky landscape, I think, for another couple of years, where we will have people being more either incorporating these either vaccine passes or having these negative COVID tests, or wearing masks. That's, I don't think, going anywhere, like going away for a while. That's the reality of what we're seeing. Event organizers are also, or if they're not, we're trying to teach them to definitely be more cautious in making sure they're protected as an event organizer. Even verbiage of stating, if what we see at restaurants, what we see everywhere. If you've been in contact with somebody with COVID, don't come. If you are feeling a fever, don't come. Like, we're making sure that event organizers notate to say that somewhere, whether it's on your event page, whether it's in you send an email out before your event with like your details, and then that kind of COVID precaution. So I think it'll continue that way again for a while.
Right. And I think people, I mean, it's not just like better be safe than sorry, but you're opening yourself up to liability in the long run, as an event producer. Um, I've stepped away for the most part. I'm still dipping my toe like a little bit. I'm helping people produce their events. But as we round the end of the year out, like we have two people on staff that are immune compromised and they can't get vaccinated. Right. And we were running into conversations with some of the guest speakers that we had on stage, and they didn't want to work with any of that stuff. It's just like uncomfortable conversations to have. And at the end of the day, it's like, you don't want that liability. Like, as an event producer, you're doing something awesome. You're putting out good information, education. You're giving people a great experience. And then a ton of people get sick from your event, and it can be traced directly to your event. Like, nobody wants that.
No. Yeah.
I think that's kind of a no-brainer that you would see more of the intimate events, the smaller events going forward. Maybe that's something that people can look forward to because you can price things more at a premium when it's smaller. You can do nicer stuff with less of a budget. Um, Less people are doing large events, so you have greater access to sponsors, um,
Yeah.
and there's just a lot to do right now, and you can get really really crafty without breaking the bank. Um,
Exactly.
so
And yeah, it's also a good opportunity. I think, I feel more brands are recognizing it too. Yes, you want as many eyeballs as you can, but
yeah,
it's also that in person, that one on one connection, even with
yeah,
25, 50 people, can be actually more maximizing uh, with, with sponsoring an event like that, because it's not just like, here, take my swag, go, take my swag, go. It's actually, you're able to now converse with every person in that room. So
yeah.
there's value with these intimate events too.
When you converse, you can convert.
Yeah, I like that. There we go. Yes.
No, I think that's a great point. The high volume events that we were used to in pre-pandemic times, maybe 500, 1,000, sometimes 2,000 people at some of these shows, some of these festivals, and you're literally just giving away shit, like throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall, hoping that something will stick.
Yeah.
Back when I was at Baker, we created a little technology so people can dive deeper into those relationships and they can actually follow up with people. But it was like pulling teeth to even getting people to do that. All right. So like now, if you're at a 50 person or less event, chances are you're at some point in those 3-4 hours of your event, you're going to get a conversation going with that person across the room who's shy in the very beginning.
So
And
true.
I actually see this as a golden opportunity for brands, cannabis entrepreneurs, the people looking to get into the industry, to have greater access to the people behind the brands, to the C executives that are attending these events, making sure that they run smoothly. Whereas, back when I was doing my like live events here in LA, when you have like 250, 300 people, like good luck getting a good conversation in with me.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Like, I
true.
don't remember who the fuck you are. Like,
That's the reality though.
trying to take everybody's head, trying to talk to everybody, get in a couple of sentences, and then on to the
Yeah.
next, right? I
So
think people should be taking advantage of this opportunity. Obviously, you want to pick your battles. If people are, like you said, they're not putting up disclaimers on their website. They're not encouraging people to stay away if they're sick or whatever. You want to, manage your risk properly
yeah.
there, and maybe that's not the right thing for you to be at. But if you feel good about an event that you see on Event High, and you say, "Oh, this looks awesome. The people will check out. Like, let me go check out this event." It's a good opportunity that you can at least begin a decent relationship with some of the folks who are making the decisions behind the scenes, both at that event and then also at the sponsor booths. It's not that infrequent that you'll see a CEO, a marketing director, or whatever at these events, helping things run smoothly, and they're going to be able to talk to you, right, on a smaller scale.
Yeah, that's so true.
So,
And go ahead.
no, please, please, please. I was going to go transition to the next one.
Oh yeah, that actually, I think I was probably on the same front. So go ahead on that next question, actually, because I don't want
Okay.
to jump.
No, you're good. You're good. So you're seeing like a little uptick, more of the more intimate events now, or smaller ones. What do you see hopping into the new year? Let's say 2022. Um, if we see a drastic pullback in COVID, we don't see another spike in cases like we have been seeing like clockwork, very strangely, but we're not going to talk about conspiracy theories today.
Another time.
I'm good for it. What do you see going into the new year, or let's say when COVID starts to pull back? What do you see happening with the industry? What are some of the trends that you're seeing successfully rolling out in a post-pandemic world?
Well, so with the data, what we've honestly, through all the research that we've seen on the mainstream event, industry and landscape, and what they're saying is there's going to be a huge increase in in-person events and experiences. I think the one thing that COVID taught us all was that how important human connection really is. And I think it's obviously it is going to be a change in some of these events. We'll still have a lot more conferences and everything, but it's going to be more strategic in the experiences. People want to have experiences now. They want
Right.
these events to really be enhanced in how they are being treated, or what they are experiencing. You mentioned the New York event, behind the scenes earlier, with Sasha, I believe it was, correct?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Yeah,
The Stone Age.
those
Mhm.
yeah, that like those are the things that people are really wanting to experience when they go to these events, or just experiential marketing is going to take off. So I am very hopeful for an increase in the event landscape and the tourism landscape as well. And it just goes back to, again, people recognizing like how important human connection really is for their mental health and for business, and just in general as a whole. So with all the data that we're seeing and that the event industry is putting out there, we're thinking we will be able to recover,
Mhm.
and we'll be able to recover quickly than we all envisioned, because the event industry, as we all know, got hit the hardest, got shut down the quickest, and was the last to open up, really, compared to all businesses.
Right. And so, the wheels in my head are always turning. But, I heard a little something, a little T word you said there. So, cannabis tourism, it's covertly been, we talked about it a little bit on State of Cannabis News Hour, but covertly, that has been like one of the hottest topics across the board. It does not matter what region we were talking about. You have cannabis tourism, whether it's by bus. You have a lot of people going out to like secret sesh spots.
Yeah.
You have some people. I've talked to a couple of people. I actually interviewed a few people on the East Coast that are actually doing like Caribbean tours. Like
Yep, that makes.
that is crazy. Like, and I never would have thought that it would blow up like just like that. But you said just a second ago really struck a nerve with me. You said like people are itching
Yeah.
to get out, and people want to escape
Yes.
the confines of their homes, of being on like Zooms all the damn time, and they want to get out. What are some of the things that you're seeing pop up in cannabis tourism? Like, what are let's say some of the new stuff that you didn't see much of prior to the pandemic?
So retreats have definitely increased drastically. And they're, like you said, they're popping up anywhere. I've seen them in Michigan, obviously, even up in the NorCal area.
Yeah.
NorCal area, though, I
A lot
do
of
see a lot.
Meadowlands. Yeah.
Yeah. With the NorCal, I definitely see a lot more tours. So, like touring the farms, or just that whole kind of experience happening. That is what I would say is definitely scaling a lot more, is the tours and
Really?
the retreats. Yeah, the retreats, those two things have definitely been something that we've seen a lot more additions to Event High, and just the conversations as a whole. Again, it might be it goes back to that intimate setting, but now it's like a weekend, instead of just a one event.
Mhm.
Um, that's
And
what I love.
and people are talking about that 4-day work week now. So you got like 3 days to go
Yeah.
on those little cannabis retreats for the weekend. I could see,
Mhm.
are you seeing like more? You don't have to give any like internal information, but are you seeing like one thing that was sticking out in my head is bud and breakfasts? Shout
Yes.
out to a lot of people. We were actually looking to make a couple of moves in that lane with products, but like bud and breakfast, I saw pre-pandemic as being a huge opportunity for people to hop in, educate themselves about the plant, and really get to know people behind the scenes, like who does what in the industry, and just get your hospitality on. I'm from the South. We like to serve people, we like to take care of folks, and just have like an experience like no others. That's something that you're seeing more of
We
at all, like the bud and breakfasts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense. We see the events, the retreats, and these bed and breakfasts popping up, and it's because it does allow for another revenue stream, another income into their life. Especially if they have the house or the room available or the property to do so, it just makes so much sense economically for them. And it brings that kind of environment into it. And I agree. I've seen a couple retreats or these bed and breakfasts, and I'm like, it would be so smart for brands to align with them because what are they? Oliva oil sitting in the kitchen or apothecary box, on the coffee table
Yeah.
at these bed and breakfast places. People are going to start to
So
see
much
them.
opportunity. So
Yeah.
much opportunity for branding, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You can have, like, I don't want to call out any brands that aren't sponsoring right now. You have like this bath bomb, this
Yeah.
bath bomb company like sponsoring, your Airbnb, which you're doubling as a bed and breakfast for this month, and
Yep.
that's a stream of revenue you have coming
Yep.
in, and there's a lot of content that's available to be driven from the actual brand, and it's a lot of exposure, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like to keep things a little high level, when I go live, and not dig into. Hold on, got animals in the background. I do live in the hood. I like to keep it high level, not dig too deep in the numbers or anything, but you have a lot of opportunity there. Let's say like you have 3 people standing at your place
Yeah.
per week, right? And they're
Exactly.
going there, you're seeing your product, they're actually able to use your product, not just seeing it on the shelf, not just saying that, oh, there's a pretty package or anything. They get to use your product, where they're taking a bath like in the whirlpool, or let's say that they are, oh, let's just say it's a joint, right? Like I say it's a pre-roll. They can actually leave feedback, like live feedback there, and they can have multiple instances. Let's say they're trying something out in the morning. They try the same company and their product out in the afternoon the second day, and they try it in the evening the third day. You can incentivize people to leave you information so you can perfect your product. I don't see
Yeah.
how. I don't know. I'm dropping too many gems right now. Like
You are. I know. I was like, that,
we need to talk
I was just
behind the
posting it
scenes
there.
about.
No, you're right though. Yeah, there's a lot that I think is geared towards that. And then one other thing too is I think we're going to see it a little more, but in Arizona, there's a hotel that just that has been around, but they became
Oh
cannabis friendly.
yeah.
Yeah, we're going to see that a lot
What's the
more.
name of that one again?
That one's the Clarendon.
Uh-huh.
And so we actually checked it out, and their whole top floor they're renovating to where all those rooms will be cannabis friendly. So you can consume cannabis at the top floor. They also host events on their rooftop that are cannabis friendly. And what's even good is that they've looked at it too. Yeah, I don't mind having a drink. I'm not against alcohol. Like I drink, but
Mm-hmm.
the things can, you can get crossfaded at times. So for their cannabis events, they don't bring, there's no alcohol up there. So you're really enjoying just a cannabis atmosphere, and it
Right.
is just focused around that, which is creating these different vibes and, no fights and, just a different experience. So
Right.
it's really cool to see that. And I've seen a lot of other hotels say they're CBD friendly or incorporating it through their spas at these
Right.
hotels. But it's really cool to see what the Clarendon's doing, and I think we'll start to see a lot more hotels kind of find that way where they can do it legally or compliantly as best as they can they can get away with in a sense.
I agree. I was gonna make an offhanded joke. I'm like, yo, they should open up all the bottom floors and not let people smoke on the top floors, just so the people up top get mad and
Yeah.
jealous.
Yeah. Like, what's that smell? A good smell down
Like
there.
some of that good shit.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about the future a little bit, because I do consider you a futurist, being ahead of your time. Like obviously with DCN, but also you're a little bit of a visionary too. I gotta give you your props. Game recognized game, and where do you see the event industry in the long term? I am. I'd say I'm probably in the minority, but I'm vehemently pro. legalization. I think the legalization is going to happen around time of the midterm elections because the way it's being kicked around like a political football right now by both parties because they can't talk. They don't really have concrete ideas on anything else right now. Post legalization, where do you see the most bang for your buck, like in the event industry in a post legalization world?
So in a post legalization world, I definitely see cannabis events or just, you know, almost like cannabis rows being a part of mainstream events. They're going to have, I think that it'll be smart for them to have these areas where it will be focused around cannabis events. You know, I've
Right.
heard even talks from these, you know, mainstream performers about incorporating even cannabis sections at their events without consumption. So just even just highlighting and giving a space for these brands. I mean, at the end of the day, we all know people still consume cannabis at music festivals. You know, we don't hide it; like it still happens. It just may not be easily accepted.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely see that it's going to start to have a mainstream approach. What is the one? It's not. I think it's. Is it called Grasslands? Is that the one that's not cannabis focused, but they have now a cannabis area? Is that
Yeah, they had, I think it was out. I think it's outside lands, but the
outside land?
grasslands was part of that, and that was the cannabis focused part of it. I think.
Like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is outside land. So I feel like that
Mhm.
is going to be a lot more. What was it? Live Nation just announced, I believe, last week that one of the headliners for EDC was a huge cannabis company. You know, and that was
Oh
the
yeah,
first.
oh yeah.
E-
That was this past weekend,
yeah,
right?
this past weekend they
Yeah,
were
I
like one of
wanted
the.
to stay. Yeah, I wanted to
Yeah.
stay and check that out, but I had to get back and coach Pop Warner football game. You know, because I love the children. I love the children. but that's pretty exciting. So
Yeah.
for that, and then we saw another large festival that had an exclusive. Was it like Dragon, Green Dragon? I'm look it up right
Palm
now.
Springs,
There's
right?
a, yeah,
Was
it
that
was
Palm Springs?
Dragon. It's a music festival.
Dragon.
Look up here. Splash House.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
So
I saw that. Yeah, outside lands. I think they started doing like pre-pandemic. Yeah, Splash House doing their thing, and it only takes one of these to be super duper successful.
yes.
Boom, floodgates are open, and you see like a lot of people doing it. And I think that a lot of mainstream event organizers are missing out, like 100%. You
Yeah.
are missing out. I think the key thing that you said earlier when you were talking about the claret in the hotel is no fighting. You know,
Yeah.
I know there was an unfortunate event at MJ BizCon last week, but guess what's not available in trade shows like that?
Mhm.
Cannabis.
Yeah. Exactly.
You can drink
Exactly.
all you want. You can walk around freely with as much liquor as you want, but you can't smoke weed. You can't mellow out in there, and
Mhm.
you have no idea. You have no control over what somebody is going through on their end, and they just might be having a bad day and took one too many drinks. Next thing you know, you get punched in the face,
Yeah.
and it's not
Exactly.
fun.
No.
So
No.
yeah, we don't have fights. We don't have a bunch of people that are just like aggressively being assholes to each other. And I think that the insurance companies, once they start raking in this data, you're going to see probably lower down the line. Is my
Yeah.
prediction, like down the line in a post legal world, cannabis events are going to be easier to insure than events that are serving alcohol.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have any of the aggression. You're not gonna have people with cannabis poisoning, anything like that. You have to be carted off like vomiting on each other. Um,
Yeah.
so I think you make a really really good point
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I think
We're
every event should have weed at it.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, you know, people bump shoulders, and when everybody's consuming cannabis, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, bro. Like that. You know, they actually say sorry. Whereas alcohol, it could be like, hey, what. what are you doing? Like it definitely gets aggressive.
Right.
And even going more just into that, post prohibition landscape, like we are already seeing cannabis events happen worldwide, but we definitely feel like it will continue to scale within that mark.
Right.
Right now, to stay compliant, we can't work with in-person events outside of the U.S., but we are definitely having those conversations already, because we know once that does happen, we would want to work with these other event organizers that are already paving the way in their other countries, because they're happening outside of the U.S. We know it. We have Cannabis, which has been huge and been going on forever, but there's still, like, other countries have these little festivals, these little meetups as well around cannabis too. It's happening. So
No, I love it. Love it. So, now in closing, so tell me a little bit about what to expect from you, Parisa, the Blunt Brunch crew, going forward in the nearest future. So let's say like the next month and a half as we finish off 2021 and into Q1 2022. What should we expect from the Blunt Brunch committee, and how are you guys going to break more rules and disrupt more shit in the lane?
Yes. Well, we're very excited. So our next social is going to be in December in Arizona. I'm not going to say yet what activity we're doing, but if you're interested in learning, and again, people do fly out for these events, so if you're able to, you're always welcome to join. Anyone that's watching. So we'll have our next one in Arizona in December, which will be our social, and then next year, Parisa and I will actually be traveling Blunt Brunch. So we are going to be going to quite a few different states throughout the year and bringing the Blunt Brunch experience to those states. After that, we do have a vision. There's many, many women that have reached out about hosting their own, and we do have some plans for that, but we want to be strategic in our growth.
Franchising.
We have a lot to learn about that. So that's the thing. We don't want to grow too quickly. We
Right.
want to make sure that we don't lose the foundation or the true values that are behind Blunt Brunch. And so we still have a lot to learn, and we're staying humble with that. So we're going to travel it. Blunt Brunch is going to have our road trip next year and go through different states, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, I love it. And one bonus question. I know you guys at Event High are seeing like a ton of Halloween cliche bullshit going on this weekend. Is there any unique ones that you've seen out there? Anything unique going on this weekend in the cannabis realm that you would like to just talk about? You don't even have to endorse somebody over the other, but is there anything like unique? I see everybody's doing Halloween, the spookiest blunts on earth. Some stupid shit like that.
Well, there's a couple, but one that comes to mind, and it's not just because I live in Arizona now, but it is actually pretty. It sounds pretty cool. So it's actually happening at the Clarendon, and it's called Carnival. And so, the theme, like they're having this whole theme kind of thing. They're renting out the whole hotel. So downstairs by the pool, upstairs on their rooftop, they're going to have people walking on stilts, like all these performers. Like it's going to be sounds like, Carnival in, where is it, in Brazil, mixed with Halloween. So people are going to come dressed up, and I thought that was a good twist. There's also a lot of cannabis infused dinners that we're seeing on the East Coast that are happening, and then they turn into more of like a party where they'll have DJs so people can dance and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of those Halloween ones we're seeing with that name. So we're excited to see like the Carnival, because it's a little bit different, than playing off of the Halloween. So.
Right. Yeah, on the East Coast, that's something I've really seen like over the last couple of years is they really like to do a lot more, not just experiential, but they really like to do a lot more in the culinary lane, and they go the extra mile with it.
Yes.
We've had some really, really good stuff out here on the West Coast, obviously, with 26 years in California of quasi-legalization. You're going to see a lot of innovation with that. But some of the stuff that I've seen on the East Coast, I'm like, damn, like
Yeah, they're
we
stepping
like
it up.
go
And
the extra mile.
Chicago or Illinois,
Oh yeah,
that's
like
another one on the
yeah,
market.
yes,
They're in that realm, I would say, for sure.
100%. Like shout out to our. I got to give the love to the cannabis affiliates like Chicago. They're out there doing the damn thing. They have a big event coming out at the end of the year for New Year's, and that's something that I was able to really enjoy. Maybe it's because people don't fucking eat out here in California.
Right? Yeah.
we got nice weather all the damn time, so you gotta be naked. So, so you're not gonna take as many risks
Bite-sized stuff.
in the kitchen. All right. So, shit! I forgot one question. So one question I did want to ask you. Given Happy Monkey just did their thing with Van Gogh, with the Van Gogh with the Van Gogh experiential event that they did with the Van Gogh Institute, and then Sasha Perelman, she and Elizabeth, they did their thing with the Stone Age, 10,000 square feet, total immersive, like never heard of shit like that before. Do you see an East Coast versus West Coast friendly competition, like as we become like more in tune with what's going on? Do you see like a battle of the coasts coming on here, like who can outdo each other? Because I've seen some real big creativity out of New York.
Yeah.
And as I got back from MJ BizCon, would go to the first secret sesh, the first legal secret sesh above ground. What up, Wayne?
Yeah.
Shout out, Wayne. And that shit was dope. It was awesome. So I love the
So.
competition. What do you see? Do you see like a big difference in style from the East Coast versus West Coast? Do you see like a lot of like the same creativity, just one upsmanship? What do you see going on there?
I would say, yeah, I think it is. It is a little bit different, but I do see this kind of. I don't know if it's competitive yet, but I think they are going to start to see, how they're going to one up each other. I mean, New
And I'm
York
not trying
in
to start
general.
no shit either. I love my
No,
people
no,
on both
yeah,
coasts. No
exactly.
Tupac and Biggie.
But that's the thing too. Look at how advanced New York is being already with the social, like the consumption lounges, and like they're
Yeah.
definitely going to move forward very quickly, quicker than LA has. We do have some obviously in California, but I feel like New York's going to definitely take over when it comes to the lounges. Approach is what I see right now. But when it comes to these events, I think
You
it is a
have
little.
to. I mean, yeah, you have to when you have winter.
Yeah, right.
You actually have winter. You guys got to go inside at some point.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Got it.
So, but you even touched it too. With the way that they're doing their dinners on the East Coast to the West
Yeah.
Coast, it is a whole different experience. It is these 8-course full-on meals that we're seeing, and
Right.
just the enhanced things. Yeah. Whereas again, maybe it is because we don't eat as much in California and stuff, so it's a little different like that. We still have amazing foods, but there's definitely more of and just a more enhanced,
Like,
I guess.
yeah, I just like have so many questions about that. I see like some like $300-$400 fucking cannabis meals. I never would have expected to ever see
No.
the day of that. Number
Yeah,
one, but I see, there's a fucking 4-star chef doing this shit.
exactly.
And I'm like higher process. Like, how much weed are you using? You have an 8-course fucking meal. Like
Yeah.
how much weed? How faded am I actually gonna get here?
Well,
Like,
Cannabis
when is
needs
that?
to
Like,
do like a behind the
yes,
scenes. We all need
I
to do
need
a
to do
behind the
behind this. We have a couple of reps out there. We're working on that. Like exactly that. Like what the fuck? Like how are you gonna charge like $400 for a multi-course meal that's infused? How much of this shit is infused? And how are we gonna bring people down after that? Because for better or worse, they're all in secluded areas. You can't be doing this shit like in a big ass public place because you guys don't have that legality yet. You guys are gonna be
Yeah.
off somewhere. Like, are people Ubering there? Are you using like bus? I want to chronicle this entire experience, and like I just need to know. I'm curious. I'm curious.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
who the fuck are the people buying these $400 fucking meals? Are
Seriously,
you
it
that
does.
desperate? Are you that desperate to find out if I don't know, like who's a big time fucking chef like in regular America? Are you like really really Emerald Legat? Oh, he's problematic, wasn't he? He got me too. I think he got me too. Like somebody like some upper echelon chef. Are you that fucking thirsty that you need to have their 8-course meal? And then I don't know. It just opens a
You
whole
never
can of
know.
worms in my head.
Yeah. But there's
I
people
need to
out there
find
that
out.
want that. There's people out there that want that. And maybe too, it's what that's kind of what they do in their normal lives in general. Like that is the kind of experiences they like. So for them to
Yeah.
maybe it introduces the door to those kind of individuals to cannabis. If they
Right.
already spend that money in a non-infused dinner, they're like, oh, okay,
Hmm?
maybe another extra $200 or 100. They're like, and it's infused, and they're not necessarily in the cannabis scene, but that's the style of their life. Now
Mm-hmm.
I guess it opens the doors to a whole new audience for us, which could be good.
Yes, it
You never
does.
know.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I just don't know if I
Adelia,
could spend that much on a meal.
I got my press pass.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. I love that.
Man,
Oh.
you diapers ain't cheap. So, so any last words you want to leave us with before we check out here? Please tell the folks like where they can find you, where they can follow Blunt Brunch, and like the floor is yours. Anything you wanted to leave our audience and good people at home with, please.
Yeah. So, you can connect with me at, online at Miss Adelia on social media. If you're interested in learning more about the event landscape, it's go to eventhigh.io, and it's HI, like hi, hello. Or if you want to learn more about Blunt Brunch and what we're doing and stay connected, our website's bluntbrunch.com. And you can also find us on Instagram. Blunt_brunch is our handle on social. And I think everyone that's watching, it's the biggest thing I'll always continue to state is, as this industry continues to grow, we need to be more compassionate and listen with intent and be mindful in the direction that we are going. I still believe we can keep the heart of cannabis at the forefront, even as we go into business. I know many corporations don't feel that way. I definitely gotten those kind of remarks on LinkedIn a lot, but we can make this. We still have the ability to make this industry different than any other industry, and it starts by action and actually doing it. If we lead by example, others will follow. We can talk it, but until you do something about it, nothing's going to change. So that's my little insight or just reminder.
Right. Words are cheaper than shoes. Remember that. So
Yeah.
much love, everybody. Adelia Carrillo, one of my greatest friends in this industry. Much love to you. Appreciate you coming on with us. And best of luck to you and Parisa and everything going on with Blunt Brunch. And I'll see you very, very, very soon. So
Exactly. Yes.
everybody
Thank
else at home, please remember, if you can hang out in the green room for just a second, Adelia, right back there in just a second. He'll close out. All right.
Awesome.
So everybody, huge thank you for everybody who popped in today. We're actually going to keep the unedited version up for about 48 hours. You can see the edited version scaled down by the end of the weekend. Definitely appreciate you guys coming out. Please support women in the movement. Please support BIPOC initiatives, BIPOC companies in the cannabis industry, and just know that Adelia is a absolute gem through and through. And reach out to her and her team. She and Parisa are doing an outstanding job down in Arizona. If you have any questions about that, reach out to them. They're some of the nicest people that I know in the biz. And I would not have her on the stage with me with this baby cold. You guys see me sniffling and shit over here. Would not have her on a Friday with that if I did not agree with that. So much love, everybody. I'll be back on at about 5:00 for the daily for the story of the day. And I appreciate you. Remember, when life gives you no place else to turn the fuck up, baby. See you guys soon. Disrupt this shit.